To a very special episode on the Fruitful Fertility Podcast. I have Haylie here, who is a client of mine, and we did HTMA together. And I always really like for clients to come on and share their story when they can. So Haylie has a really, really cool story, and it was so fun to work with her. So I invited her on to tell you all about it. So Haylie, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited.
So start off and tell us a little bit about just your fertility story, like how long you were trying, what all you guys tried, the emotions you experienced. Kind of give us a rundown.
Yeah, I have been married twice. My first husband and I, we got married in 2014. We were married for a year, and in 2015, we just decided to like quit preventing pregnancy, and trying to get pregnant naturally. We tried for 3 years with no success. And then in 2018, we decided to go start seeing like a specialist for fertility. Um, Kind of started a journey down the traditional medicinal route. I had lots of tests done. August through October, I did, like they had me on Clomid and progesterone and all the different things. And we were starting to go down the route of like an IUI. And it was just shortly before we were going to have our procedure. Um, we just kind of decided that like it didn't feel right and it wasn't what we wanted to do. Um, so long story short, we ended up getting a divorce and then I got remarried in 2022. And my husband now and I, we tried for a year and a half before we decided to like try to look into things again. So in June of 2024, I started going to a traditional medicine route again. Um, I wasn't exactly confident in that because I had been down that road before. I think just innately, I knew that it wasn't anything like major. Like it wasn't going to be a medical procedure that I needed to have, or like, I don't know why, but I just, even through my first marriage, like I just had this feeling over me like it was something simple. I've always kind of led like a healthy lifestyle for the most part, working out, basically clean diet kind of thing. And so I don't know, like I could tell there were some things. I had some other signs too. I had some really bad acne. My periods were terribly painful, but they were normal, regular, and things like that. So I just like when we started in June, I wasn't exactly confident in the traditional medicine route. I just didn't think that was going to maybe be my fix, but I was in a new location and had a new doctor and just kind of wanted to see what they said. Um, and then it was September that I found your podcast. And so I started listening, and it wasn't long after I started listening that I kind of just like it piqued my interest. And I was like, okay, this sounds a little bit more what like I had been feeling, just something was off. And so then I scheduled my first HTMA appointment. And so did the test. I think we ended up meeting end of October to go over those results. Um, and by this point, I had quit the traditional medicine route because they were quickly just heading me down the path right away to the um, drugs and trying to like burst my egg count and things like that. I just didn't want to go down that route again. I just didn't believe that that's what the plan was. Um, yeah, so then we did Vicon. I think I didn't receive it till November, mid-November. And then by February, I was pregnant.
I know it's so exciting. I was telling
Uh,
Haylie before we got started that her pregnancy and out like she emailed me with a picture of a pregnancy test and it like took my breath away because we kind of got sidetracked. Like we had started and then Haylie was building a house, so things kept getting bumped down the road. And so we would get back on track, but it's
mhm.
still all worked out.
Yeah.
So to recap that, so would you say, is this right if I say that so you tried for around collectively and all the times you tried to get pregnant, like 4.5 years, four
Yeah.
and a half, 5 years?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Between the two and stuff. Yeah.
when you say no success, like you said, y'all tried your first marriage, you tried for 3 years with no success, so no pregnancies at all.
None. Not no miscarriages in that timeline, nothing at all. Just yep.
What about with like the Clomid and the progesterone when you were doing the fertility clinic stuff? Yeah.
Nothing, no improvements. And I think like that's about the time that my acne really started to like flare up and stuff too. So I think that kind of pushed me into that like, okay, something's just not clicking. Like
Mhm.
this isn't it. If it's messing up my, face and things like that
Mhm.
too, like, is it really helping me and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like when I feel like in like the traditional medicine world, not just fertility, but like all of modern medicine, it's like we're kind of told to like trust our doctors and not rely on our own tuition. But
Hmm.
so often that little bitty voice inside that's like, "Hey, I just don't know if this is the right fit," is
Yeah.
right. Like that. If you are someone who's listening to this podcast and you feel the same as Haley, like, this just doesn't feel right. Can't put my finger on it. I don't know why, but something just doesn't feel right. Like I want you to trust that intuition because you were usually right. I mean, I want to say you're always right. Your
Right.
intuition is right. So always trust that. And I'm so glad you did. So when you found the podcast and then you signed up to work with me. What was it about HTMA that like made you want to go down this route? What felt different or made it feel like the right choice, I guess?
I think just like the more like well-rounded approach to it wasn't just, okay, we're going to fix fertility. We're looking at all of my whole self and like how my body operates and like what is there that needs to be worked on. We talked about digestion and things like that. Obviously, my acne was like something in my body not operating correctly. And so just that whole approach of dealing with all of those things or like finding the root cause or of all of those things was just really kind of what piqued my interest because I was trying to deal with these things at once. Like, I mean, I've been to a dermatologist multiple times to try and get my acne fixed. It couldn't happen. I've been to multiple and, had regular doctors give me medicine for my acne. And there was just other things that I've been trying to do to do all these pieces where you were kind of like a one-stop shop sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like, kind of, we're going
I
to look
like
at the
that. I
whole
am.
picture.
I'm a one-stop shop for
Yeah.
your baby, your acne needs, your
Yeah.
digestion needs, all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Did your husband, I always like to ask this question, like what your husband thinks, because as women, I feel like because we're the ones listening to the podcast, doing the research. So, and we're digging into stuff so much. So, like, you
Yeah.
find someone on a podcast, it doesn't seem that crazy to sign up and work with them. But when you told your husband, like, hey, I've listened to this podcast and I'm gonna sign up with this stranger on the internet to do something
Yeah.
called a hair tissue mineral test, did he have thoughts on that, or was he like, no, let's go?
Um, I mean, he wasn't like, oh yeah, let's go, let's do it. But he also grew up, his mom is very much like the holistic, all
Hmm.
organic food. Like, so he's kind of been in that world for a
Hmm.
little while. So when I told him about it, he was definitely like, oh yeah, that sounds like kind of interesting. Let's, sure, why not? Obviously we've tried the traditional medicine
Yeah.
route for a while. Like, why not try something different? When I asked him, he told him he had to cut my hair. It was the best trust exercise. I was like, oh man, here we go. But he was a trooper and he did great. And yeah,
Good. Actually, that's funny that you bring that up because I have had like a few clients that are like, I'm going to go see my hairdresser because there's no way I'm going to let my husband cut my hair.
yeah, I let him do it, but I mean there was definitely warnings like, okay, you're taking this much, like this
Yeah.
is all you need,
Yeah. This is
like
tiny little piece and don't cut a
yep,
whole gap in my hair.
right, yep. Hmm. So
Um, I would say my next question was, what did you like most? But I feel like you answered that with, saying like the whole body approach. Would you say there was anything about it that, like on the flip side, that um you didn't like or you thought was weird or kind of like you were skeptical of?
um I don't, not that I can think of.
Yeah.
I just appreciated all of it. Yeah, I can't think of anything that you said that I was like, what? We're gonna do what?
Yeah.
The castor oil pack thing, like that's like new to me and stuff. So that was a little like, okay, what do I do here? More of a learning curve than
Yeah.
a like, oh man, what are we doing kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, but
And so you said, did you say February is when you turned up pregnant?
yeah, so well, my last period was February 10th. It's kind of crazy because that was my last first day of the period. I think our last meeting was February 15th or something like that.
Mhm.
And I really feel like that last meeting we had was kind of like the shift in it. So that was your reference to the sun stand still and believing that like he can do it. Because I think I was just like always thinking like, well, what if God's plan for me is to not get pregnant? And what if God's plan is for me to like just live that life and, shed light on that side of, for people and things like that. And it was like up until that meeting that I just never really was like, I am going to get pregnant. So when my next cycle was approaching, when I started like a day late, I was like, I would start saying like, well, I could be pregnant, but I switched the mindset. I was like, no, I am. Like, we'll deal with it if I'm not, but I am. So like just that little like shift in mindset. And I've heard that from you many times on the podcast, but just to like then hear it in our meeting and just start saying it to myself was
Mhm.
huge too, I think.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I feel like that meeting stands out so much in my mind because I knew it was our last one. And so
Yeah.
I always like I want to close like on a good note, and then, people can always like sign up and we can continue working together, but I always want like that last meeting to feel like, all right, we are on the right track. And I could tell, I don't remember exactly what it was, but your body language through the screen, like on Zoom, was not like I feel hopeful and I'm excited and ready to move forward. It was this like almost defeated kind of
Yeah.
like this to like not a super because I felt like you were doing all the things and it wasn't that you weren't in it or didn't believe that it would work, but just kind of like this, yeah, I can't put my finger on it. It was just a body language thing, this
Yeah.
quiet thing. I felt like I was talking about all the hair, the mineral test, doing the castor oil packs, what we were going to do to move forward. And I was like,
Yeah.
this girl she's listening, but she's somewhere else. And so I remember being
Yeah.
like, okay, super vulnerable question. Do you believe you can get pregnant?
Yeah.
And you were
And I
like,
think you got me to tear up a little bit on that one because I was like, I don't know if I really did, or, I maybe did, but I wasn't willing to like fully commit to like,
"Hmm,
yes, I'm going to. Um, and yeah, I was just coming off of my period too. So like the letdown of like, oh, another month not
mhm,
pregnant and, things like that. But yeah, I definitely needed that conversation and just a reminder of like the signs of stuff that was working. My acne was clearing up and things
mhm."
like that. So just those little reminders are huge too.
Yeah, you always have to
So,
celebrate those little wins. I tell people like,
yeah,
you know, when we talk about quote unquote improving your fertility, it can be kind of like elusive because if you're not pregnant, you don't know if you are improving your fertility, but there's
right.
always signs in the way your period reacts, the way your skin is acting,
Mhm.
how you're digesting food, all the things you kind of mentioned before. So there are ways to celebrate small wins that let you know you're on the right path. But it is still hard when another period comes and you're like, oh, even with all these signs. I mean, I
Yeah,
know I'm on the right track and I wanted it to be this month, but
yeah,
I feel like that is one that I'll never forget. Like just being like, and even feeling like God stirring in my heart, like, okay, you're gonna, because I'm really good at the like the science stuff. Like, here's your test, here's what it means, here's what it,
mhm.
and then, and I feel like I'm good at encouragement too. Like that is a spiritual gift I have, but I'm like, all right, I got to speak to Haylie. Like, this is not a podcast. This is not like
I
generic.
lost you. I can't hear you.
Oh no. Hmm. Let me see. How about now?
Oh, yep. Now we're good.
Okay.
Weird.
Now I got to swap to my headphones. Okay.
Okay.
Hang in there with us, guys. We're good.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, feeling like God was stirring in my heart, like, okay, you got to speak to her. Like,
Yeah.
you got to look at Haylie and speak to her. And again, your body language was saying it all. So it was just, yeah, it was a good moment. I feel like it was like
Mhm.
one of those, like, this is why I do what I do moments. And so then when I think that's why when you sent me that email of your pregnancy test, it's like, it took my breath away because it's like, this is God, like, yes, we've
Yeah.
done the steps, we've done the work, we've done all the things, but
Hmm.
actually, you know what, Haylie, hold on one second, because if I am
Yeah.
on, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking I have my headphones on, which means they can't hear you.
Oh,
So I need to leave the speaker on.
gotcha.
But yeah, like we could do we take the steps, we do all the things to improve our fertility and what I call like meeting God halfway. But like I felt like yours was like such a beautiful reminder of like this is God. God is in this,
Mhm.
God is doing the work. He's making a way. So it was really special.
For sure.
What to close out, what advice would you give others or any encouragement or tips or thoughts you would have for someone that is sitting in the position you used to be sitting in? So the woman that's listening to this podcast, maybe she's thinking about doing HTMA or something else, um, and just feeling a little defeated.
I mean, I think just like, why not? Like, if you've been on this journey, you've tried probably so many other things. You've filled your head with all these different things to do and try and whatever. And this one, I just think like getting that HTMA result was just not even like before I even got the Vicon that like addressed it, just like you going over it and those results and showing those different levels, like I am kind of a nerd too. So, like, just even that, like, looking at those and being able to see, like, oh, that level is off. Like,
Mhm.
quote unquote, the doctor calls this normal or you're in
Mhm.
your normal range, which I think you said about my thyroid, but also, like, not able to get pregnant. So, I think just having some clear answers and like actionable steps. There's so many other things I've tried that it's like, oh, well, try this. Like, we don't really know if it's going to work.
Mhm.
Like, but this was very like, okay, I can see your level here is off. We're going to try these and we're going to have you do this. And
Mhm.
just having a tangible, actionable step and little things. And I know you gave me like 4 or 5 other things to do besides the Vicon, like not stressing. Like there was obviously times I wasn't doing all of them. And I couldn't with the lifestyle that I had. And not to stress about not getting them all in and just do what you can when you can and
Mhm.
yeah, let God kind of handle the rest and believe that he can.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I love that. I loved all the words you used there. I loved when you said tangible and actionable because that's
Yeah.
what like that is the person I am. I don't want a generic like you were saying like I don't want like maybe you can try this, maybe you can try this. Like I want someone to tell me this is exactly what you need.
Right.
And I love that HTMA gives us that because one, it does give us the answers. Like even you saying at the beginning, like you felt like it was something small, but just didn't know what it was. It's like, well, here it is on this paper. And so
Yeah.
for women that get the quote unquote normal labs and then don't know what to do, it's like, here's your answers. I can give
Hmm.
you answers. And that's the coolest part. And I've even had people ask questions like, well, I just don't want like I'm kind of scared to do another test that'll come back normal. And I'm like, I have never once ever run an HTMA on anybody that came back normal. I don't even know that that's
Right.
like physiologically possible. So it really does give you that clarity and then give you an action plan. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that. Well, good deal. Haley, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with
Yeah.
us. And thanks for hanging in there with the microphone and
Oh yeah.
blunders and stuff. But
It
this was really
happens.
helpful, and I'm so glad that we got to talk about it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.